We'll get some plays for tonight. We'll get some waiver wires. We'll get some sleepers, guys that Jeff likes in his lineup. And we'll answer your Week 4 fantasy football questions. Jeff, what's going on, my man? How are you?
Hey, big game tonight. Finally, got a good Thursday night game coming up.
We finally have a good one. And Jeff Pasquino, like all guests, appear via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Let's talk about tonight, Jeff. We got Eagles, Packers. Which Eagles and Packers should be active in your fantasy football lineups tonight?
I like both quarterbacks tonight. I favor Aaron Rodgers. The running back situation favors Green Bay. Aaron Jones is more of a running back, too. Jared Williams and Miles Sanders are more your flex options. Wide receivers and tight ends are probably your targets. Devontae Adams is wide receiver 1. We got Valdez-Scantling as a wide receiver 2. Jeffrey and even Aguilar as flex. I can't wait. I am dying for Aguilar to score a touchdown just to see the celebration. I just want to see him climb a ladder and catch a baby. That's what I want to see.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And Zach Ertz is definitely a solid play tonight.
All right, there's some plays for tonight's Thursday night game. It's Jeff Pasquino from thefootballguys.com getting you ready for week number 4. Let's start with some quarterbacks that have been thrown our way that people want to know about. Phillip Rivers, we're going to start with him. He had maybe one of his best fantasy seasons ever. What about Rivers in week 4?
Well, it's homecoming on the road this week for the Chargers as they visit the Dolphins. The Chargers, the biggest favorite this week. They're favored to go in there, win by more than 2 touchdowns. The Dolphins are a second-rate team. There's one caveat, though, and there is actually, they say the math tells you 10% chance the Dolphins win. The Chargers are 1 coin flip away from being 0-3, and this is a road game for them. The Dolphins look pretty decent for the first half against Dallas. It could be a tricky game. I like Phillip Rivers here in a week where Melvin Gordon's still going to be on the sidelines for 1 more week.
All right, let's look at Daniel Jones. I'm sure a lot of people are saying, hey, he's on my waiver wire. Should I go out and get Daniel Jones?
Well, considering he's probably their best running back right now, I would definitely pick him up for that alone. I think he's going to be solid against Washington. We saw that Chicago just tore them apart last Monday night. I think Daniel Jones he's a borderline quarterback 1 this week, and especially with you have 2 teams to buy. Buys are starting to happen. You have San Francisco and the Jets off, so you may need some guys to pick up on the wire.
What about Baker Mayfield? A lot of high hopes for him. Are you starting to be worried about his fantasy prognostication?
A little bit. Cleveland is one of those teams that's better on paper, but their matchups have been tough. They've got a real tough one with the Ravens this week. He's outside the top 20 this week in our rankings.
All right, let's get another quarterback question in for Jeff and throw it to what about Jacoby Brissett? He is another guy who had a nice week last week. Is he a regular starter, especially in week 4?
Well, you got a good matchup here against the Raiders at home. The Raiders are starting a 48-day road trip that's starting this week. It's going to be pretty bad. They have to go to London next week, and then they have a bye. It's a long stretch for them. The Raiders have not looked so solid. The Colts are starting to look pretty good. I think Brissett is a borderline quarterback 1 this week in a favorable matchup.
All right, Jeff Pasquino from thefootballguys.com. If you have a fantasy football question for Jeff, send us a text, 609-403-0973. Moshe and Ryan are putting together your questions. We will ask those for Jeff in just a second. Let's go over to some running backs here and get your take on a couple of guys. And what about Joe Mixon? A lot of high hopes for him. He had that ankle problem, but is he ready to go now and get in lineups?
I think he's a solid running back, too. Pittsburgh's defense is coming on a little bit stronger. It's a weird matchup Monday night with 2 0-3 teams. I think it's a must-win for the Steelers. But Joe Mixon is the lifeblood of that run game, and he's got to balance out the offense for the Bengals. He's a solid running back, too, on a week where there's not a ton of options after you get past the top 15 guys.
Barkley's one of those top 15 guys, but he's out for a while. Who's in New York?
Wayne Gallman is the guy to pick up, and quite frankly, I think the Giants are going to wait till after their bye, which I think is week 11, to bring back Saquon Barkley. So Gallman is probably going to be your guy. The Giants they're trying out some guys out of free agency to possibly add to the squad because they only had 2 running backs as of yesterday. But Gallman is the number 1 back until further notice.
All right, let's take a look at a couple other backs here for Jeff. And what about we saw the Bears get that offense going the other night. Did you like what you saw from David Montgomery?
I did. He was more of a workhorse. It's a tough matchup this week. He's more of a running back flex this week. He's just outside the top 24. we have him neck and neck with Gallman because Gallman has a better matchup. Montgomery is seeing the bulk of the carries, but they're using all three guys in that backfield. Minnesota's a tough matchup, pushes Montgomery down to the flex line.
Last year, Phillip Lindsay was a fantasy star. Are you starting to feel better about him in Denver?
He is. He's got a pretty good workload last week. I definitely noticed him. He's a borderline running back 1 this week against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense it's getting better, especially in PPR. Lindsay's definitely got a lot of value. Royce Freeman has some value too. Maybe a low-scoring game. You really need Lindsay to find the end zone, which he did last week.
Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. How about Singletary this week? He's facing that New England defense. So do you feel good with Devin Singletary for Buffalo?
There were some concerns about his health this week, but he's back at practice today. Looks like he'll be a solid go. He's more of a flex, though, because the New England defense has really been tough, and Frank Gore is also splitting carries with him.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, answering your Week 4 questions. Keep texting those questions in, 609-403-0973. Let's jump over to some wide receivers. Is now the time to put Terry McLaurin in your lineup?
He was one of the guys I was going to mention tonight as my sleeper, so I think he's definitely a pickup, and we have him as a wide receiver 2 this week. He's the only player, I believe, that started his career with 5 catches and a touchdown in his first 3 games. So he's looking to be a wide receiver 2 with some solid upside, and Washington's defense means that the offense has to throw a lot in the second half.
Are you starting to lose faith in Stephon Diggs?
I am.
A little. I mean, the guy's still got talent. I mean, Adam Thielen and Diggs, the problem is that Minnesota is now more of a run-first offense, which is good because Kirk Cousins isn't so hot. They need a balanced offense, and they're playing defense and run first, but Diggs is a solid wide receiver 3 with upside.
Okay, a couple more before we got questions. We got a lot of questions for Jeff. As the weeks go on, people have more tough questions because they don't know what to do. So let's throw just a couple more. We'll get to your questions in just a second, everybody. What about, in Cincinnati, Tyler Boyd? He was a fantasy guy last year, a big player for a lot of people. He hasn't been as good this year. How do you feel about him?
He's going to see a lot of targets at the Steelers that they've been throwing the ball out against Pittsburgh. He's a wide receiver, too, as available. And I just want to mention to the listeners, if your question doesn't get in, you can always hit me up on Twitter at Jeff Pasquino.
There you go. Maybe we'll just start putting our leftover questions and just tweet them at you here. We get a lot every week. We try to get as many in as we can. Jeff Pasquino from thefootballguys.com, 609-403-0973. What's the play at wide receiver with the Rams? Who's the guy out there? What do you suggest for Cooks and Robert Woods, who hasn't been really all that good this year so far?
The Rams are a must-start this week. You got to get all those guys in. But Cooper Kupp is your wide receiver 1. He's the guy that moves that offense, and he's like their second quarterback. He lines guys up. He knows his guys are lined up in the wrong spot. They will have Kupp on the field almost every play.
All right, Jeff, let's get some of the listener questions to Jeff Pasquino from the Football Guys.
All right, Jeff, we have an embarrassment of riches type question regarding this game tonight. Someone wants to know if they should start Aaron Rodgers or Carson Wentz.
I would go with Aaron Rodgers because I think Green Bay is going to throw the ball a little bit more, although I like Wentz too. It's a tough call, but I think Aaron Rodgers is your choice.
All right, another question here. He also has Aaron Rodgers, he or she, I should say. Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson?
Oh, I love Lamar Jackson this week. I think with his running ability and his touch and throwing, the other guy I'm going to mention later is Hollywood Brown. Both those guys are solid plays this week.
All right, this is just an embarrassment question, I think, for the person who has to ask it. Andy Dalton or Kirk Cousins?
Yikes.
Ooh, or forfeit.
Run the wishbone.
Yes. Now, I would say Andy Dalton of the mix. It's really close, but if they're available, I would pick up either Josh Allen or Kyle Allen as both better options that could be on your waiver wire.
Wow.
All right, we have a question from Frank here. Flex spot. Should you go with Nelson Aguilar or Delaney Walker?
Delaney Walker is a little bit banged up. I like him in this spot, but I have a really good feeling that Aguilar is going to score a touchdown tonight.
All right, we have a PPR league question about starting a wide receiver, either Larry Fitzgerald, McCole Hardman, or Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think I got that right.
Well done.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling is your guy. He's seeing a ton of targets. The defenses are trying to take away Devontae Adams, so that really makes Valdez-Scantling almost a wide receiver 1 for Green Bay.
All right, another question here, Jeff. He says, is it foolish to go heavy Lions versus the Chiefs? He has Stafford, Breeze hurt, Hawkinson, Kittle's on a bye, and he just nabbed Marvin Jones on waivers.
Marvin Jones was another wide receiver I was going to mention. He saw a lot of targets last week. I don't think it's wrong at all. And in fact, if you are in a matchup that, if you look in the website and you can see that we have a Football Guys 5-second primer. If you're a subscriber, it gives you lineups and tells you if you're predicted to win or lose. If you're predicted to lose, you want to do a stack, which you take a quarterback and a receiver to match up and maybe get a touchdown for both guys. I really like the Detroit stack this week and what could be a possible shootout.
All right, let's talk about wide receivers here. Sterling Shepard or Adam Thielen?
Adam Thielen, I think, is your guy. He's getting more open from Minnesota, and he's more trusted by Kirk Cousins. He's seeing more targets as well. He's a solid wide receiver, too, this week.
All right, got to love the defense questions, and we have one here. Seattle, Houston, or the Panthers?
Of those choices, I would go with Seattle, Arizona. Arizona, even though I like Kyle Murray, Seattle's defense travels well, and their defense is playing pretty well this week.
All right, last one, Jeff, for you. Sammy Watkins, D.D. Westbrook, or Tyrell Williams?
I like Watkins, and then I like Tyrell, and then I would go D.D. in that order.
All right, a lot of questions. If you didn't get a question in, you can always tweet at Jeff Pasquino on Twitter. He'll help you out there as well. Jeff, who are some plays this week, some under-the-radar guys, some waiver wires, and other guys that you like?
Well, we covered the quarterbacks pretty well. Let's go running back. Darrell Williams at Kansas City. If you can get any Williams at running back for Kansas City, if you can get any Chief, it's probably worth a good pickup. But Darrell Williams, every running back could be in play this week except Darren Williams, who could be out for Kansas City. So he's banged up. Marlon Mack is a must-start again against Oakland. He's a running back 1. Also, with Melvin Gordon coming back in his contract for the Chargers, Austin Eckler, is this the best time to use him and then hopefully trade him after Sunday in a solid performance against Miami? Wide receiver, I mentioned Hollywood Brown already. He's a wide receiver 2, as is Terry McLaurin. I think John Brown is a good upside as a wide receiver 3 for Buffalo. So you get a garbage touchdown. They all count in fantasy. And Marvin Jones was already mentioned. I think he's a solid pickup as well.
There you go, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, giving you a little help for week number 4. And it all starts tonight. Get your Eagles and Packers into your lineups. And, Jeff, as always, good luck, pal.
Good luck to everybody. Enjoy the games and fly, Eagles, fly.